What's going on, guys? This is Empty Box. Today we got a little Assetto Corsa with the Lotus 211 because it's awesomely good fun here at Silverstone International because, well, it's a good car track combination. Plus it's addictive. It's just must go faster, constantly push your loan limit. Just good fun. It's not going to do the lap time any good, but I don't know, for some reason here in Assetto Corsa, I am perfectly content to try and beat my own lap times. It's like a fun little game. In the good way, honestly. So I think that's kind of one of the things I struggle with, you know, upping my own pace, whereas here in Assetto Corsa, you really got to push the car to the limit. You really got to try hard. It's one of those things where it's really easy to just get the car around the track. It's really easy to survive, but to go fast, it's just like you got to tell yourself, go faster, you're not going fast enough. It's really strange. It's the only sim where I've ever really felt like I had to basically wring the neck of this car to try and get everything going to keep my speed up. I don't so much settle into a groove as I do just keep yelling at myself. And honestly, I have absolutely no justification for why that is. Your mileage may vary, but so much fun. Can't wait for multiplayer. Can't wait at all. Be a little bit smoother in the throttle there. I'm using ABS only. That is built into the car, and according to a guy who actually owns one of these in the real world, which I'll talk about here in a little bit, you can't turn the ABS off, so I figured can't turn it off, so I'm not going to turn it off because, well, it's a racing sim, driving sim. If the car is built that way from the factory, then that's how I get to drive it, right? I don't know, perhaps a little bit more fun without ABS, but definitely a lot more confidence with it. Anyways, on the subject of the 211, this car is basically what you would expect. Surprisingly fast, surprisingly nimble, not very fast in a straight line, but very well balanced, although it does have some understeer, under throttle, which, as you can imagine, something based at least partly on the Elise, the Exige. Not necessarily all that much of a shocker. Doesn't mean it's a bad handling car. You know, again, I want to state that handling balance and handling ability are two separate things. A car can be very understeer biased in its handling. It doesn't mean that's a bad handling car. It just means it's understeery. You can still be very fast with understeer. Okay, I was braking way early there. is actually my second take video. The first one basically ended up with me doing 15 laps. Oh god, we're in a way break. Way late. Doing about 15 laps, just basically totally zen-like, just trying to get into the 13s, which, as you can see, I've done quite successfully now. My best lap being a 13.3, but just like, I don't know, that mentality, man, just gets into your head. Woo! Fun, fun, fun. In too late, too much weight on the nose. Corner turn in. Of course, the rear end's going to want to rotate. That's what that is. And it's very important that you recognize what happened and what went wrong and why it went wrong, at least in my opinion. You know, I'm one of those guys, I'll tell you time and time again, I'm not fast. I'm never going to be fast. So what I need to do is be consistent. And part of being consistent is knowing what went wrong, why it went wrong, and how you can change that. This course is really tricky, very bumpy. Anyways, there was a topic on the Assetto Corsa support forums about this car, about this track, as the same guy who mentioned that the real car does not have toggleable ABS. As he basically compared his experiences, and basically he said with the default setup, it was, in his words, about 85% there. It was good, not great, not spectacular or anything. But with a couple of setup changes, the car came to life. I also noted a couple of things that's kind of a little bit weird, not necessarily correct, aka the front roll bar. He said he runs full stiff in real life, whereas here, instead of course, roll bar setting a 2 is, you know, most realistic, most correct in his opinion, which pretty interesting. You know, just one of those things where you're early in development. Some of those things can end up happening, and making sure that we get the values correct and everything. As well as real car has adjustable dampers, which here in Assetto Corsa currently does not. Although the guy doing the physics came on the forums and said, yeah, they are supposed to be there, or we just ran out of time getting this car into the game, blah, 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 blah. This is development, of course, so obviously I think it's much more important that they get the car in the game as is, rather than necessarily, you know, one small little thing. But he said with those changes, with a softer front roll bar as well as a little bit less rear wing, car comes to life and behaves quite convincingly. He also mentioned that he was running in the 14s around here in his real car as well as in the sim, which a little bit faster than that, but not by much. So honestly, pretty brilliant. And man, I do not know where that 13.34 came from. Although one thing I have to say with the Assetto Corsa, and I think this car kind of highlights it, as well as all the other Lotuses, the Exiges, the Elise. I really think there's something with the throttle pedal on the way it's calculated. You know, the way the power output is transmitted from, you know, your pedal input. Just doesn't feel very sensitive at all. And I'm not talking about the dead zone issue that we had originally that has been fixed. But just sensitivity in general. It seems like really everything happens in that last 10% throttle. You know, everything. It's just that much. Very small little area to drive in, very small little window. Which I think in a car like this, given that it is somewhat prone to on-throttle understeer, kind of makes things a little bit interesting. I also think it really kind of misleads people when they see videos and they're like, oh, well, you're going like 90% throttle through this corner, you know, and you got understeer, so the car should just understeer more, or swap ends, you know, when 90% throttle really... That's really where things are actually starting to happen here in Assetto Corsa. So it can kind of look a little bit weird. It kind of makes people think that there's more grip than there is when it comes to videos. I personally think. I mean, the mileage may vary. Which, you know, is something, if you follow Project Cars, that's something that they had a problem with, and then they fixed it basically by recalculating the way that power is, you know, calculated in the engine, the actual car's engine. Which, you know, maybe that's the issue here in Assetto Corsa. And, you know, I think back to, well, literally about last year, iRacing, where they basically decided, oh wait, our steering is just calculated based off a scientific formula. It's not actually like a mechanical linkage. You know, we're not simulating that. Let's go ahead and put a mechanical linkage, if you will, in there, and suddenly cars drove entirely different, much better overall. But no one ever really thought until then, oh hey, there's something wrong with the steering. Because it had been done that way since, you know, Grand Prix Legends, and it worked. So, you know, why not? You know, as these sims get more and more advanced, there's going to be more and more issues like that, where there's been things that have been done for so long that you just kind of take for granted, whereas, you know, suddenly that could be a issue. Got a little bit too much to the backside there. I don't know what it is about this sim, but I just constantly feel like I have to keep trying to beat my laps. And it's not even a, oh, this car's so enjoyable to drive type of thing. It's just, I gotta go faster. I gotta go faster. I'm not happy with that 13.3, which I've gotten nowhere even close to. I want to get into the 12s. You know, it's just the same thing that I talked about previously with the Formula Barth, where it just feels like you are pushing so hard in that car, like you're just destroying things, you know. You gotta go faster to keep the car on the track. You know, the downforce thing, actually feeling like there's downforce. I don't know what it is, or why it's only this one. I just feel like I gotta go faster. one other little sidebar here while I still have the time. As you might have noticed, a somewhat relative lack of content here on my YouTube channel recently. Just haven't really had the time. Last week some crap happened and I just never really got around to the whole iRacing thing. Yeah, I didn't turn a single lap in the Spec Racer 4 at Road Atlanta, and I was looking forward to that combination. We'll just leave it at that. Yeah, but tried the Spec Racer 4 race last night from Sebring Modified, and you know, it went smoothly, but it was boring as can be, and I'm not going to upload a boring race where literally nothing happens. You will get that occasionally. And then last weekend I was just playing a lot of R Factor 2, just testing, tweaking, tuning, and all that stuff, trying to get it to feel a little bit better, because people going crazy about it pretty much all the time, it seems like, but I've just never really been too big on it, even though I'm an R Factor fan. So it's one of those things where wipe everything, start over, see what you can change, and see if something comes out better. And it did get better. I no longer feel like there's negative 10 degrees rear camber in every single car, but not a huge fan, except for the historic cars. The historic cars are just OMFG, WTF, do like, blah, 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 blah. And then on another side note here, one more lap. We're gonna do one more lap, and we're gonna be fast. It's gonna happen. Hard to believe that this car is fast as the Ferrari 458 around here. Over the course of doing all this tweaking and tuning and testing, I switched up my philosophy with my brake pedal in terms of how it's set up. As some of you guys might know, I use the Fanatec Club Sport pedals, and I just basically crank the sensitivity dial way to the left. No, my pedals are not hard mounted. It makes things really awkward under braking, but I do feel like I have more control getting off of the brakes, which is really where you're going to gain your time, if you ask me. That's something where I was watching one of my iRacing videos, and I noticed I don't really roll off of the brakes quite the way I'd like. Seems a little bit more natural with my pedal inputs there in the bottom right side of the screen, but I figure a stiffer brake, have to press harder, which means that there's more movement just purely on the load cell, which basically means it's a lot easier to modulate. It's my theory. It makes it a pain in the butt, though, to push full stiffness, though, because, like I said, my pedals aren't hard mounted and I don't wear shoes, because the gas pedal is about as soft as a sponge. There's no resistance, there's no stiffness. Fanatec, stiffen up your gas pedal, because I said so. Please, thanks, bye. Hope you guys enjoyed. Bye.